Then I would like to talk about megatrends. Megatrends that have a very pervasive influence on human resource management, international human resource management. So these are probably 4 factors that have the strongest influence on people management. Some of these factors have been there around for quite some time. Some of it is rather recently, have emerged recently. So I would like to talk about the health crisis, COVID-19 crisis. You can still look around. Some of you wearing masks, some don't. Some of you had contracted COVID-19 before, I heard. Some of you even multiple times. Some people were very severely affected. Millions or many people died, had very severe influences. And that changed how work has been designed and how then also HR responds to it. Then we can talk about technology, innovations. We had this one before. Changing workforce, how the workforce of today is changing. In the past, it was older men assume managerial positions. That's changing nowadays. And also young people, older people all have different expectations, different demands, how to meet them. And then globalization, deglobalization, changing trends. And all these mega trends, very severe or pervasive influence on one another. So they influence each other, and then also on human resource management practice. I have a few examples for each. So one of the mega trends would be technology. And probably what you think most of it would be something like robotics. Robotics was the topic 10 years ago. So automatization in production. So many people and many countries, they were worried there will be lots of job losses. People will lose their jobs. Imagine you, your parents, some of your family members work in a factory along the assembly line. Now with many more robots. Also Germany has robotics companies, and then these robots replace humans. So meaning these humans are no longer needed. They lose their jobs. And to some extent it happened. At the same time, job losses, we have augmentation. You move up. Maybe you don't put in the screws with a screwdriver. Maybe you do something more sophisticated, more complex task, more varied task. And maybe you can also earn more money because of more enriched job complexities. I wouldn't say that is the most important trend these days. What is more intriguing or important is now artificial intelligence, digitalization. How is that replacing humans or supporting, augmenting human work? We can think also of examples in work. So again, like before, robots replace humans. Now artificial intelligence may replace bank analysts. We don't need analysts in banks anymore. Everything can be done computerized. They lose jobs. Again, there's some trade-off. Also, we can think of more HR-specific aspects. Recruitment. Instead of we have an HR personnel who will screen through all these resumes. Instead, we have computerized programs, and that's happening in most companies. In German companies, it's rather simplistic. It's some screening, programming, and so forth. In some other companies and countries, it's more sophisticated. And for companies, of course, if they can take advantage, great. And we also see now that's happening. The rollout varies across countries. Germany and EU is lagging somewhat behind because of regulations. We may also see some change in there. But that also prevents European companies from being trendsetters in that industry, because in the US, in China and other countries, less regulations, companies can be more innovative and roll out those initiatives. Changing workforce is one factor that influences HR on a global scale, but also more specifically. We have demographic change. People are getting older. Almost all industrialized countries are affected. For you, you're young, so for you it's good news. You have more job opportunities, because fewer people competing for the same or similar amount of jobs, maybe. Another trend, if you think of changing demographics, is also if you think of age, people get older. People get older and are relatively healthy, so meaning they can work longer. So life expectancy also moves up retirement ages across the world. And that is also what companies then can consider in their policies and their global talent pools, how to manage that. Or maybe you as an individual yourself, where you would like to work later. In my case, I want to work until I die, more or less. I like my job. But in Germany, I retire at age 67. Then I'm out. In the US, there's no retirement age. So in the US, my dream is when I turn 60, I go to Florida, and then I work in Florida until I pass. And maybe you have similar dreams and opportunities. And that's also what companies have to consider. But the thing is, because people work so much longer, this is good for our business education majors. They need more training. You're young, you know Instagram, social media, blah, blah. But in 10, 20 years, there will be something else. And then you will be as old as me or old, and then you need to learn things if you want to stay in the game. So continuous learning, and particularly also it varies across countries. In some countries, you retire, in China, if you're female, age 55. You can phase out. If you're 45, you don't need to learn things. But in other countries, you need to offer this training so that people can be productive on the job. A very substantial difference. You have different expectations. I jokingly said at the beginning already, you want work-life balance and fun and enjoy yourself. It's very important. People above 40, it's about making money. And I presented at this any one of you attended Alumni Day? We had the Summer Alumni Innovation Summit, and I presented on sustainable careers. So in order to have a lifelong, fulfilling career, you need not only productivity, money, and performance, but you also need happiness on the job. And the older guys were laughing about, happiness, what do we need this for? We need money. Huh? And you're probably this generation where other aspects are important, and then how to combine, and also how to connect these groups. Because if you join a company, and some of you are already working, you will be working 40, 50-year-old people, and you need to find some common grounds or some kind of agreement to be productive, because a lot of jobs are nowadays team-based, and you're in different roles. Okay, another trend I think we all experienced during the last 2 years is COVID-19. And that meant for many of us, many of you also, you joined here our university and you're maybe third semester. Before this semester, you've never seen campus. Or if you join a company, you have onboarding. In the past, it means, you go drinking with your colleagues, you do this and that together. Nowadays, maybe you have a Zoom or a team meeting on the internet, and you have a mug of coffee and you say cheers. It's really distant. Remote work has been a common trend. In international HR, that means also much less expatriation, much less job assignments abroad, because it's expensive, troublesome, cumbersome, and so forth. You do everything remote, virtual work. A major change. And then also globalization. We have globalization, deglobalization, and so forth. We're now rather at the stage of deglobalization, but at the same time, we have also more convergence of markets. One such trend would be here, how to deal with developing countries or emerging markets. In the past, many companies, large companies, they go abroad to lesser developed countries. So a German company would go to Eastern Europe because it's cheaper to produce there. That was the main purpose. You produce in a low-cost country and then you import the products back or export it to different countries. Traditional idea of how to do business internationally. You seek cheap labor. That was early stage of globalization. Now what we see a lot, these developing countries are emerging. They're also progressing. And they become very substantial, large markets. You can sell your products and services there. So instead of using it only as a factory, you use it both, maybe as a factory and as a market, a distribution market, where you sell your products and services. And that changes also the mindset and the way of doing business, and also the way how you deal with HR issues. Here, you exploit cheap labor. It's more transactional. Suddenly, if you're there for the good, you stay for long term. And violating all kinds of labor laws and so forth, only produced cheaply, might end in a backlash. You cannot sell products anymore. The cost rise, Yeah, and then you really engage in those countries, meaning you get more engaged, involved, yeah, and then you hire and develop people for the long run. Yeah, not just the mindset, oh, we give 1-year contract, products, and then the next. Yeah, you really have a long-term perspective in the recruitment and development of personnel. Major change. One example would be Walmart. Yeah, Walmart also entered Germany, not very successfully, but in China they have been very successful. One of the few really success cases of Walmart and also of foreign companies in China. So they have lots of stores. They still have this low-cost strategy, so they try to maintain low costs in a foreign country. So in order to do so, they have an extensive supply chain developed in the foreign country in China. Yeah, I think now they have more than 400 stores. Yeah, and what is then really important during the strategy is really to recruit people, recruit and develop people in the foreign country. Not just as cheap labor, but also as managerial staff, because someone needs to run these stores. And they cannot send American expats to run a store or manage some sales staff. It needs to be localized. At the same time, still coordinated with the US headquarters.